Hello! Welcome to Kral Space. This is Kim. I don't know why I always pause before I say my own name. This is Kim Kral. I am recording to you not live in my closet. It's like weirdly loud outside today, so I'm hoping that my closet is good at making it soundproof. I have these little like foamy things that I was thinking about gluing. I don't know how to put them up. Nailing? Oh, you could nail it. I don't know, into the sides of my closet to see if I can make it more soundproof. I don't have pants on. I feel like I don't know if I've talked about this yet. I need to start writing down what I talk about because I talk a lot. So I can't remember if I told you guys on the podcast or if I was telling myself, my cat, someone on the phone. I don't know. It's like day 32 or some shit of the quarantine. So, I mean, I talk to myself pretty much a lot anyway before all this. Like, I don't get people who don't talk to themselves. It's like the people who don't offer gum. I talked about that in the last couple of episodes. People who don't talk to themselves, they're just quiet while they're alone. It's just quiet. There's no, I'm always talking to myself. I'm dancing, I'm singing. I think I'm going to film a sketch. Oh, I'm pretty excited about it with my cat, and I'm going to be wearing a cat suit. Stay tuned for that. I have my buddy Roger sometimes edits things for me, and I want him to help me edit it, but it might be a little too bizarre and for him to edit. But stay tuned for that. But yeah, I don't understand people who don't talk to themselves. I talk to myself constantly. When I was a kid, a lot of people are asking me if I'm having a hard time talking in my closet for an hour by myself. And no, I've never had a hard time coming up with something to say. And it's weird. Like, I can be quiet. Like, I can be, like, I spent hours being quiet. Like, I'm actually, like, a good mix, I think. People that really know me know that, like people who really know me, which there's, I feel like that's how everybody is. We just have, like, a handful of people that really know them. But those people know that I actually can be very quiet or a very good listener. But when I was a kid, my family always thought I talked too much. Whatever. I'm a comedian. That's what this turns into. If your kid talks too much, chances are they're going to grow up to be some kind of performer. Congratulations. When I was a kid, my papa was in the hospital he had like a triple bypass surgery or some shit. He lived through it. He had like 4 of those surgeries, lived through those. Obviously he passed because, I'm older now, and it's bananas to me when people my age have grandparents that are alive. I'm like, your grandparents are alive? I mean, one of my grandpas died like 2 years ago, and that was wild, but he was like a young grandpa. So my papa was in the hospital for the bypass surgery. I was like 10 years old, so 27 years ago. Jesus Christ. And so my whole family was in the hospital like nonstop, just all the time, like for like, a week or two, just while he like recovered and was in ICU. I just remember being in that hospital a lot. And I was sitting in the hospital in the waiting room with my uncles and aunts and my uncle John. I was probably like hour 12 of us all in there, and I was, I had a lot to say. I always have a lot to say. So, and I'm weird too. So like, I'm sure whatever I was doing and saying was probably, as an adult, I can see now where I would be like, shut up, I will do anything to get you to shut up. So my uncle John finally goes, hey, I bet you $1. I think it was like $1 or $5, something like that. We'll say 5 for this story. I bet you $5 you can't be quiet for 20 minutes. And I was like, easy. So I was quiet for 20 minutes, and then he was like, double or nothing. I'll give you another $5 if you're quiet for another 20 minutes. And that went on for like a while. And everyone was like, I can't believe she can be so quiet. And then I remember going to the bathroom and being like, and talking to myself in the bathroom because I needed to get some stuff out. So I went in there, and then I like laughed to myself. It was like easy money. Little do they know I'm in here talking to myself. So 27 years later, Uncle John, I probably owe you, $50 or something, or however long you got me to be quiet. Probably. I don't know. I didn't talk in the waiting room, but I did talk during the 20 minutes. I would just go to the bathroom and talk to myself. So here I am in the closet talking to myself, and it's exciting. I got a lot of really positive feedback with my first 3 episodes, so I'm pretty excited about that. Every time I say, you should take a drink. It should be a fun drinking game. Almost did it again. Oh my gosh, now I'm way conscious of it. When you don't notice something until someone points it out. Like there's a comedian friend of mine that is very, very lovey touchy, and it's not creepy. He's not like a creepy dude, but he's extremely affectionate. And I never noticed how affectionate he was until I was hanging out with another comedian, and I was like, so-and-so's coming to hang out with us, and my other buddy goes, he just hugs and kisses you like the entire time we're all hanging out. And I never noticed before, and then that's all I could notice. I was like, he does hug and kiss me the whole time. So I feel like the was pointed out to me, and now I'm like, oh God, that's all I can think about, but whatever. I've decided with this, I'm going to just do like a raw, uncut, like the first 3 episodes. So just like, like the 3rd episode, I dropped my microphone like 4 times in here, and it's so hot. It's so hot. I'm rethinking the no pants thing, because like my legs I'm like sitting on this trunk, and my legs are starting to sweat into it. That's when I know I found my soulmate, by the way, when my soulmate will touch my sweaty legs. I know you're out there. I know you are. Hopefully. I don't know. I was in this meeting once when it was like, I get so hot. Like if you know me personally, like I'm like a sweaty bird. Is what I almost called myself, a bird. I get really, really sweaty. Like it's my mom. Okay. So it's my mom's side of the family. So when I was like, I don't know, 11 or 12, I was sitting in the back seat of my mom's car, and my aunt and my mom are talking. We're driving somewhere, who knows? But like, obviously that's why we're in the car. But, well, I've spent a lot of time in non-moving vehicles, but that's another story. So we're driving somewhere, and my mom and my aunt are talking about how sweaty they are. And they got to be like, I don't know, I was 10. So my mom was probably around my age. And they were talking about how sweaty they were. There's like a massive motorcycle outside. Just anybody notice in this lockdown just how very loud the tiniest noise, because it's so quiet now, so just like the tiniest noise that usually would just get lost in the static is just so irritating. Like my neighbor plays what does he play? He plays like Call of Duty or some shit, and I'm sure he's been doing it for 10 years, but I've never noticed it because there's all this like other noise going on, and all I hear now is him laughing and yelling at the TV, and I think I might kill him. So we're driving, and they're talking in the front seat about how hot and sweaty they are, and how they're not able to have white shirts. Like they're like, well, we can't have white shirts because like we have to wear deodorant. So the sweat stains are so bad in our white shirts. And then they were talking about all of the stuff they have to do in order to hide how sweaty they are. And I was 10 years old ish. And I remember sitting in the back seat and just thinking to myself, and just like really like coming to terms with the fact that I was just going to be a sweaty adult. And like that same aunt has a daughter who's like 18 now, and she's also pretty sweaty. And my aunt and I were talking, and I was like, the second she decides to make the sweaty funny, that's when it isn't going to be as embarrassing anymore. Because as soon as I embraced how sweaty I was, it's just like whatever. I remember one time I was at this sports bar watching football, and this crazy hot dude was talking to me, like just so hot and charming, and it was so hot in there, and I'm like pouring sweat, and my sweat stash, if you don't know what that means, it means your upper lip is just really sweaty. And next time you see me, you'll notice that I like rub it a lot, and I'm wiping it off, but it also looks like I've done a ton of cocaine, which I haven't. It's just I'm trying to wipe off the sweat stash. But so I'm like trying to wipe off the sweat stash. I have my bangs. My bangs are like getting sweatier and sweatier. And if you have bangs and you know when it's sweaty under the forehead, you can't touch them at all. Because the second they look fine, but the second you touch them, your bangs touch the like sweaty forehead, and then your hair, your bangs get soaking wet, and there's just really no turning back. There's just no turning back. So that happens. So my bangs are stuck to my forehead, and I'm like pouring down sweat. And this guy is just like, it doesn't help that he's so hot that I'm nervous too. So it's like 105 degrees, and for some reason the sports bar had 0 AC because they decided to open the windows that day. It was 105 degrees. I'm nervous, so I'm just like pouring sweat. And this dude is just like cool as a cucumber. He had pants on. I had like a dress on and I was that sweaty. Oh man. So he's just like talking and fine. And I'm like, you know, the like glossed over eyes as you're trying to like pretend you're listening to someone, but your like inner monologue is like, all right, casually wipe your sweat stash. All right, no, casually. And then after like, I don't know, 7 or 8 minutes of this, and by the way, I don't think this guy gave a fuck. He was still talking to me. Like, he probably was like, wow, this girl's getting sweatier and sweatier, but like he could have left at any moment. Like, it was like it was a very easily like, I gotta go to the bathroom situation. You know what I mean? So like, he obviously didn't give a fuck that I was this sweaty, but like, oh man. So finally, after like 20 minutes of this, of just like buckets of sweat, which by the way, 20 minutes in that scenario feels like a lifetime, man. So like, after a lifetime of sweating in front of this gorgeous dude, I was like, I'm gonna go to the bathroom. I'll be right back. And he was like, yeah, of course. So I go to the bathroom and I'm trying to mop up the sweat on my armpits, my sweat stash, and my bangs are just like at the point of no return. Like, it's just, I mean, like, it looks like I took a shower. Like, my hair is like soaking wet. So I put my hair up and then I put my bangs under the sink to wash them in water, and then I took a comb and then I used the hand dryer to blow out my bangs so to dry the bangs and get them back to normal. Now that sounds like you're probably like, wow, Kim, you MacGyvered that situation. Good for you. Like, you really like figured out how not to look like a sweaty disaster. But you forget, the guy already saw me super sweaty. So I come back from the bathroom with my bangs dry and all done. And he was more weirded out by that. He looked at me and he goes, did you blow dry your bangs in the bathroom? And then I don't know what a normal person... In my brain, I honestly thought I had normal reactions until maybe 5 years ago. And then I started being open about how I felt inside my head. And people were like, no, that's weird. So like, I thought a normal person would just explain what they did. I don't think so. That, my friends, is when that guy got up and was like, well, I'm going to go see my buddy over there. And I was like, all right, well, do you want to get phone numbers or something? Maybe we can hang out and watch football sometime. He politely got my phone number and never called me again. And I'm convinced it's because I washed my bangs in the bathroom. Had I just been sweaty, because everyone in that bar was sweaty. It was like fucking, like, it's like when you're camping and everyone's disgusting and then the one girl is like all made up. You more judge the one girl who's put all the effort into looking hot than you do like the girl that's just like, well, I haven't showered along with everybody else for 4 days. It doesn't matter now. That was years ago and I couldn't pick that guy out of a lineup. So I don't know why it just hit me. I was like, why did I go into all that? Oh, right. Because I'm really hot in my closet. Oh, so like I'm sweating right now. And like I think I need to wear pants in here from here on out because, I'm pretty stuck to this trunk here. I'm pretty stuck to this trunk. So I have a very exciting poop scoop. So I told you guys I would really like it if you DM'd me, text messaged me if you have my number, find me on Facebook, Instagram, DM me, and tell me your poop stories. You know how much I love poop stories. So I got my first email or text message. This is a personal friend of mine. And I promised him he would remain anonymous. Which is going to be really hard for me if you know me, because I just like, I'm in here, just let it rip, man. Just let it rip. But I got my, oh God, I burped. I got my first DM about Poop Scoop, and I'm going to read it now. Okay. Are you ready? It said, oh, and sidebar, I'm really bad at reading out loud. This is something that like all of us feared as kids. I know, like I assume every kid was like, reading out loud was a goddamn nightmare in school. Like, I used to do this thing when it was like, all right, we're going to read this chapter and everyone's going to like, we're going to go down the line and read the paragraphs. Did everyone else do this? I thought I was going to die. I was so anxious. Like, it was like my heart's pounding. I'm sweatier than normal. I wasn't really that sweaty of a kid, but like sweaty, nervous. And and then you're like counting all the people in front of you and the paragraphs, but if you miscount, you're like, oh, phew, I'm good, but then they're getting closer and you're like, fuck, there's 3 more paragraphs and there's 4 more people, or there's 2 more people. That means, like, you know what I mean, like, you do the math wrong, or they like throw you a curveball, and Mr. Gates in 6th grade is like, oh, instead of we're going first row, and then we're going to skip the second row and go to the third row. Kimmy, that's what they used to call me. You got to read. And I hated it. And I was so bad at it. Like, I was just so bad at reading out loud. And I mean, I don't know. I know. You'll find out in a minute when I read this poop scoop. I'm not good at reading out loud. I think my brain's just really loud. So like I get ahead of myself, or I like start to read what I think it is, and then it's not that, or I get self-conscious, or I zone out. I don't know. But I remember in 12th grade, senior year of high school, I was a camp counselor in my school. I'll get to the poop scoop, don't worry. But this is just me trying to explain to you that you can judge me all you want, but I have lived with this not being able to read out loud problem for a long time. I'm pretty positive that's why I had to give up the whole acting thing. I'm also not the best actress in the world, so I'm more of a funny broad than a actress broad. But terrible at cold reading. So I'm a camp counselor. So my school district, county, our elementary school, when you're in 6th grade, you go up to the mountains for a week, and it's like camp. Like you stay in cabins, like you learn about moss and rocks and animal poop, and you eat in the It's actually really fun. I can't remember what it was called. It was so much fun. I went to a place called the Windy Peak when I was in 6th grade, and so yeah, there's teachers there that are chaperoning, but like the camp counselors are junior and seniors in high school. So you volunteer for this thing, and then you get like a packet to like teach these kids. I look back in this, I'm like, I was 16 years old leading like a bunch of 11-year-olds out in the middle of nowhere trying to teach them about moss. Like, I was the worst student. So like I would just kind of glance over it, and then I'd just be like, but it was a really big ego boost because I wasn't very popular in high school. And I was definitely like gawky and like missing a lot of teeth. Just 2. I was just missing the 2 teeth as we've gone over. And I but like gangly, awkward. And like around junior, senior year, I started kind of growing into my body. But like at that point, like the damage was done. I was already like deemed not, not one of the cute girls. So when I got to the camp, like all the like 6th grade boys had a crush on me. I was like the hot camp counselor. And, it's sad that I still hold on to that. Looking back, like right now as I'm explaining, I'm like, why am I still currently so proud of that? I was one of the hot counselors, the 6th graders, and I was 16. Wow, that's the things you hold on to. Jesus Christ. Sometimes I say things on here and I'm like, should I delete that? Nope, I made a promise that I'm just going to make this uncut and raw, which makes me worried because I keep saying things and I'm like, oh man, so-and-so's going to listen to that. Well, what are you going to do? But so like at night, I had my own cabin. I had my own cabin with like 10 girls, which is just so bananas to me. But I had my own cabin. And one of the girls asked me if I'd read the book, Hello God, It's Me, Margaret, I think it's called. It's the book by Judy Blume about getting your period. And which, again, all this stuff in hindsight is just like, God, Jesus Christ. So one of the girls hands me the book, and I sit up on my bunk and I start to read it, but I'm reading it so terribly because I can't read out loud. And so this, like, I'm kind of a slow reader in my head anyway, but like out loud, it's a nightmare. And so in the middle of me like struggling through this, so embarrassing, one of the 6th graders goes, Miss Kral, if you want, one of us could just read the book for you. And I was like, no, I'm fine. And I pushed through it. But they still had a crush on me, so like, who gives a fuck? You know what I mean? All right, here we go. So the poop scoop. This is the email I got on the poop scoop. So I think a couple weeks ago I was talking about this, or a couple episodes ago. So this is what my buddy texted me. I never really thought about it until I was listening to your pod. But yeah, I think it started when I was in college as well. When I lived in a dorm, I hated going. He means poop. He hated going poop. I used to never go at work as well. But then at some point I was like, fuck it. If I'm going to take a shit, I might as well get paid for it. So until the quarantine, I exclusively pooped at work. God, I love people and their poop habits. I just rarely, if ever, needed to poop on a Saturday or Sunday. But even at work, I work in a 20-story building. I'll go down to 2 or 3 floors to use that floor's bathroom. If someone's in one of the stalls, then it's off to another floor. I'm a solo pooper. Also, I'm a sneakerhead. Oh, Also, see, I can't read out loud. Also, I'm a sneakerhead, so I usually have pretty nice or wild color sneakers, so I know people on my floor would recognize them, and it'd all be like, oh, blank, that's his name, is in there pooping. My favorite part about pooping is that, like, we all do it. I think this is why, I think if we weren't so ashamed of it, I wouldn't find it as funny. But, like, we all do it, yet we're all so fucking freaked out about it. Like, we all do everything we can. And I don't know when that happened. Like, when were we told as youngsters that we should be ashamed of our poop? Like, when did that happen? But and I remember, like, any office I've ever worked in, I haven't worked in an office in a decade, but any office, and you know someone's pooping next to you, you do look at their shoes, and you judge them. You judge them. And I don't know why. Like, you gotta poop. And we all have been there. Like, when it's a full-blown nightmare and you have no other options. That's why I get mad at people when they knock on, like aggressively on bathroom doors. Like, it's like, calm down. Like, unless you're gonna pee your pants, which that should be a whole other set of stuff you should look at. Like, I've peed my pants as an adult from, like, holding it too long. So, like, that's, sometimes I just throw little things in there. But like, if you need to use the bathroom that bad, like, there's always another, like, run next door, you know what I mean? But, like, pounding on the door while someone's in the bathroom, to me, is like one of the rudest things ever, because we've all been in there where you're just, like, praying that your poop will just come out. Like, hurry up, why is this happening? And it just won't stop coming. Or, you just found out someone died and you're in there crying over that. Like, don't knock on the door aggressively in the bathroom. It's private time. And if you got to go that bad, find somewhere else to go. Just be patient. Jesus Christ. But, like, how many times, like, I love that he's on a 20, like, I picture him, like in a 20-story building on, like, the 20th floor and, like, riding the elevator down. It's so fucking funny to me. It reminded me of, when he sent that to me, it reminded me of a story. Like, I don't know, I was like 23 years old. I was in Vegas, and my girlfriend Catherine and I were walking down, my high school best friend Catherine, we're walking down the street, on the strip or whatever, going to some club, and this guy was walking in front of us, this like 6'7" guy, or maybe 6'5", and I mean, at that point when you're that tall, it doesn't, and we started talking to each other, and we started flirting, and we started hitting it off. And it was really funny because I was like, oh my God, Catherine, look how cute he is. Do you think he's cute? And Catherine just and she was always such an asshole. But, like, I say asshole in, like, the lovingest way. If she listens to this, she knows how much I loved how big of an asshole she was. But she looks at him and she's like, he looks like Kevin Federline. And the guy goes, Justin was his name, he goes, thank you so much. And and Catherine goes, I didn't mean that as a compliment. He's a loser. So, and then thankfully the guy just, like, started talking to me and didn't, but he was so hot. I thought he was hot. I don't think he looks like, well, he kind of maybe looks a little like Kevin Federline. But, like, in his peak, when, like, Britney wanted him, not now. And so he and I hit it off. And then later he was like, do you want to come back to my hotel room and get to know each other? Like, he texted me or something and invited me to his hotel room. So I go to his hotel room and we kiss a little bit. Like, this is like nothing happened. We just, like, stayed up all night and talked. And I really liked this guy a lot. And we stayed up all night and talked, and then we're laying in bed, and all of a sudden I have, like, it was one of those things, it wasn't all of a sudden, but you could tell when one's a brewing, you know what I mean? When you're like, I'm going to have to leave and poop soon. And then all of a sudden it went from, like, one's a brewing to, like, one's like, I'm going to shit my pants. Like, I'm legit going to shit my pants. And so I love that this podcast has just turned into me telling you about all the times I poop my pants. Jesus Christ. Spoiler, I didn't poop my pants on this, but Jesus, it was close. So, like, I'm about to poop my pants, but this guy is just, like, being so cute. And I remember being like, oh, I got to go to the bathroom. And I'm like, I'm going to go back to my hotel. I'm going to go to the bathroom. And he's like, you can use our bathroom. And I was like, no, I can't. It's not going to be, pleasant. I didn't say that, but I was just like, oh, I think I better go check on Catherine. And he goes, all right, cool. And he was like, one of those sweaty ones. So, like, we're on the balcony, I remember. And I was like, I'm going to go check on my friend and then I'll be right back. And I'm trying to still be cute, but inside I'm like, I'm going to shit my pants. So he's like, he's like, uh-oh, like, he puts, like, his, like, leg up on the door, which is, like, 6 feet long, because he's so fucking tall and it's so big. And he's like, before you go, you got to pay the toll. And I was like, let me out of the house. Like, I'm going to shit my pants. So it's in the O'Hara, I think the hotel is called. The O'Hara is the Chicago airport. But O'Hare, I don't know. It was one of the hotels that's cheaper, but on the strip. And so I finally get out of there. And at this point, I'm sweating. But all those, and I don't remember, it was like one of those hotels that has like separate wings or some shit. Like, and I don't remember where our fucking hotel room is. And I wandered around those hallways sweating in tears and like not knowing, and like hotels don't have like public bathrooms, like, you know what I mean? Like if you're in like in the hotel, like they do downstairs, like where the gambling machines are, is what I almost called it. What are they called? Slot machines. Gambling machines is better. They have bathrooms there, but like I was on like the 19th floor or some shit. Like I couldn't ride an elevator all the way down, then find a bathroom. So I remember like wandering around trying to find a bathroom, or trying to find our hotel room, and like sweating and then crying and then being like, do I shit my pants? Like, do I just like, every time I passed one of those ice machines, I hardcore debated if I should sneak behind there and poop, but like you can't come back from that. You know what I mean? If you do something like that, there's a lot of things that have happened in my life that I have done that there's like life before that moment and there's life after that moment. And definitely pooping behind an ice machine in a Vegas hotel is one of those, like, you don't come back from that moment. Like, you're not the same. So I finally found our hotel room, and I opened the door, and Catherine shoots out of bed, and she's like, how was it? Like, her, like, supportive, like, oh, I bet he's so nice. You were out all night. And I was just like demonic voice, like, I'm going to shit my pants. And she's like, oh, okay. And then I ran into the bathroom. And, you know, thanked God that I made it, and also didn't do that disaster in the new dude I liked hotel room. That story ended up being kind of one of my like first heartbreaks, which will lead us into too much information probably. I will say this, like, before we continue with the Justin story, that like I've said it before on my radio show, I've said it on stage, I've said it in person, and I'll say it right here. I've been eating ass way before it was popular. Like, all the young kids are like eating it. Like, Justin, I won't say his last name, introduced me to this, and he shamed me for it after we broke up, which was really funny. But yeah, this is one of those moments where I'm like, do I delete that? Nope, I made a promise. So Justin lived in Arizona. And so we went back to our, you know, respectful places, and I went back to LA, went back to Arizona. Oh man, and we'll get into the sweaty too. God, Arizona's the worst, dude. It's so fucking hot there. Like, I could never live in Arizona, ever. Like, I'm sweaty. Like, in Colorado growing up, like, I barely wore a jacket. I'm just a hot human. So, I'm a hot human. So, Justin and I start talking on the phone, and we decide I'm going to go out to Arizona to visit him, and in the middle of June. And my birthday is June 18th. So I go, it just worked out that this whole story, I just look back and like cringe. So I was so smitten with this guy. So smitten. He was so hot. Like, looking back after I got to know him, I think I'm not proud of this, but I think I was like 23 years old. I was really blonde. I was really tall. I mean, I'm still tall, but I was really thin. Like, I looked like a little Barbie doll, and like he was like 6'5" and looked like a Ken doll, and people stopped us. This is so embarrassing. People would stop us and be like, oh my God, it's Barbie and Ken. And I think 23-year-old Kim needed that like affirmation, and that's why she stayed, or validation, why I like thought this guy was a reasonable person to date, because he was not. He was, I mean, shout out to him now. We're friends on Facebook. He has a kid. He has his 2 kids, a wife, his own business. So, like, you know, like a decade and a half has passed, and it sounds like he has gotten his life together. But not life together, but, you know, at least isn't such a tool anymore. But so I was so smitten. I go out to Arizona, and it just happens. Like, the timing worked out. Like, I found a good ticket, and, you know, like, he was free, I was free, to where I was out there on my birthday. But I was too embarrassed to tell him I was out there on my birthday, because what a fucking weirdo goes to visit a guy she met in Vegas on her birthday. I mean, at 23, I mean, now this age, I would just be like, yo, it's my birthday. But at 23, I was just like, I don't want to creep him out. And I also, my birthday used to make me really uncomfortable with like all the attention. So I get out there, and Justin also shaved his entire body and used a hair iron daily. and also shaved his entire body and was like really proud of it. And the gun jokes, God, don't get me started on the gun jokes. Like one time we were on the phone and he was like, I think I got food poisoning because I want to know how I know. And I was like, oh no, what happened? Yeah, how? Like normally it's like shitting and puking. That's what food poisoning is. So I couldn't imagine that he was going to tell me that. He goes, yeah, I think I got food poisoning because I'm really swollen. And then I was like, oh, you're making another gun joke, aren't you? Just always with, if anytime you'd ask him a yes question, like, do you want to go get dinner? Are you hungry? He'd lift up his shirt and go, absolutely. Oh man, I'm so embarrassed. Oh, and then he also runway modeled, and it was like one of those bad, like not real runway model, but like Arizona runway model. So like just like fake runway model shows in like someone's backyard, and he used to video them and he would show them to me. Oh man, I look back on that. Bless his heart. Bless little Kim's heart too. And so I went to Arizona and he lived with his parents, which he failed to mention. So we get there, but it's like he live on this like massive property. So he basically had his own like guest house. And I meet his dad and his mom, which is weird because it's like, this is the girl. Like, what did he tell him? Like, this is the girl I met in Vegas. She's going to come stay here for a weekend. We're probably going to fuck in my, you know. And he was the first guy. So I was a late bloomer. I lost my virginity at like 21, I think I've told you. He was the first guy that I had sex with that I like had real feelings for. Like I lost my virginity to like, a nice enough guy who I don't know if I've told that story. A nice enough guy. But I wasn't like into him. It was just, I liked him, but it wasn't like, I was like really, so this is the first guy I'd ever had sex with that I like really liked. Oh, and it was terrible. I don't know. I feel like this still, as I said before, I didn't know my body that well back then. And also, he was douchey, man. Maybe he's better now, but he was douchey, man. He was like while we were having sex, he was on top and he kissed his biceps twice. That's from like American Psychopath, dude. Like that's from like that movie. He kissed his biceps and was just like looking at himself while he was just hammering away at me. And after that, I like thought like, I was like, oh, maybe I just don't like sex if that's what this is. Because the first time and the first guy I had it with, it hurt, because it hurts when you have sex for the first time as a woman. And so then that was the second time I'd been exposed to it. And it just wasn't, it was all like, it fit this time and it didn't hurt. It just wasn't pleasurable. It was just like, oh, so women just lay here while this happens? Who had like... So I'm happy to report that it obviously has gotten way better. That'd be so sad. 25 years later, not 25. How old do I think I am? But like, so we have sex. It's not great. Which, by the way, I know now that in my sexual prime, I'm told. I can't believe I said that. This whole episode is gonna be like, I can't believe I exposed so much. But I like now that I know, like I'm like. He probably didn't enjoy himself either. Well, he's a 22-year-old boy, so he did come, and I just laid there. And then it was like, oh, let's do our hair, which meant he pulled out his hair iron and did his own hair, and then did my hair. I did my front part, but I missed my back part, and he was like really proud that he was able to get the back part of my hair. And in hindsight, I feel like a dream man of mine would be a guy that might be able to get the back part of my hair if I straight iron it, because I still can't do it. I'm almost 40 and I just use hot rollers, man. So it's my birthday, right? So it's my birthday and we go to a movie for like our first official date. We saw Batman Begins. So that's how long ago this was. Batman Begins, and we watch this movie, and then we go out with his friends who are all just like the tannest. Most of them had eyebrow rings. They all had abs, just like the tannest people I'd ever met before in my life. And all of them were like, oh, we all use our hair irons too and shave our entire bodies. Like they all just like all the gun jokes. And so we go to this club and we show our IDs, and the bouncer is like in front of everyone. I don't know why. This is still just so embarrassing. In front of everyone, he goes, oh my God, it's your birthday. Happy birthday. So I'd been with Justin for like a full, I'm going to say 20 hours at this point, or 20 hours-ish. Because like I landed and then, whatever. And I hadn't said anything that like that my birthday was, it was going to be my birthday. So all of his friends, including him, turn and look at me and they're like, it's your birthday? And And yeah, I think I don't know if that's as humiliating, because it was just like, yeah, it's my birthday. It's way less embarrassing to just say, it's my birthday and I'm here, than it is to, like, it's weird. It's not embarrassing. You're just the fucking weirdo that's like gone the whole day without telling anybody it's your birthday. And they were like, happy birthday, I guess. I was like, thank you. And that whole thing ended. So I remember we were in one of those stupid areas. Why does Arizona have outdoor malls? It's 140 degrees there all the time. So we're at one of the outdoor malls, like my last day there, and we decided to sit on a wooden bench. And I had this dress on, and I had this little skirt on, and we sit down and we're like sharing an ice cream or some shit. And I sit down, and then we go to stand up, and like where his butt was, there was nothing. It was just wood. And then when I stood up, where my butt was just like, it looked like I'd peed on the bench. I was so sweaty. It looked like I'd peed on the bench. And I don't know if you can gather on your own, but someone like Justin, who shaves his body, has backyard runway shows, and uses a hair iron, does not want to date a girl that sweats all over, that is superficial enough that a sweaty girl is just absolutely repulsive to him. And he looked at me like I like shit all over the bench. Like, he looked at me like, oh my God, did you do that? And I was like, it's hot here. How is not everyone who lives here not hot? You're probably wondering how all this ends to me eating his asshole. But, so we kept in touch, and then he came out to visit me. He didn't come out to visit me. He came out anyway with his friends and then visited me. That is a lesson. If a guy you like are seeing that lives in another state doesn't come to just specifically visit you, run. Just run. Like, I've had a couple long distance things in my year, because dating in LA is a goddamn nightmare. So you just like outsource to other states, and like, the one that lasted the longest, he came to just visit me. This one came to visit on his own. Like, I don't know, I guess that's a little bit of advice in here, but so he came to visit me. I lived in this tiny 1-room apartment at the time. You know, I was in LA, 22 years old, you know, making like minimum wage at like a call center or some shit. So I was living in like a bachelor, not even a studio. Like, I had a hot plate, and he was so judgmental. It probably didn't help that at the time I had most of my Barbies from childhood displayed on my bookshelf. And the only reason why, that's a weird curveball to send you, maybe it wasn't the 1-room apartment that made him turned off, but the only reason why I had him out is because I didn't know what else to do with them. And it took me about a year into living in that little apartment. I ended up moving about a year and a half later, but it took about a year to realize that I could just put them in boxes and put them in my closet. They didn't need to be displayed. Now, that is probably something you were like, yeah, that's what everyone did. But I thought, I don't know why, but I had the Barbies out. I wasn't playing with them. They were just, on. It's funny. I made friends with and sort of hooked up with this comedian friend of mine now. And every time I see him, he's always like, remember when your Barbies were just out? And I'm like, yeah, they're not out anymore. Or no, he asks, he's like, is your Barbie still out in your living room? They're not. They're not. They're in boxes. So we get back to my 1-room apartment and we start fooling around. And then we get in the shower and we start having sex in the shower. And he asked me to eat his asshole, and I can't believe I almost was like, I'm a compliant lover. Gross. Sorry, that's so gross. But I'm open when it comes to that in the room. Even when I was inexperienced, I was like, oh, if he likes it, I will try it, and he loved it. And it was in the shower, so we were all very clean. I don't know why I'm justifying this. I know the kids these days eat assholes like it's going out of style. So afterward, he came, I didn't, of course, again, because, he just, and also shower sex is kind of confusing. But we were both tall, so it, and I had a pretty big shower at the time. Just to paint a picture for you. So he comes, we go out that night, and, oh God, and then my friend, Sarah, my best friend, Sarah at the time, met him. And after we broke up, she was like, oh, I can't believe, he's so douchey. Oh God, so embarrassing looking back. But so we go out, and then Justin leaves back to Arizona and ghosts me. And then a month later or so, I ate his asshole and he ghosted me. I keep thinking, is it too bold to make that the name of this episode? So, and then like a month or two later, he messaged me and shamed me for it. Like, was like, yeah, I can't remember why he ghosted me. He was a 23-year-old boy. Who knows? But he shamed me for it. Like, he wasn't like, you ate my asshole, you fucking whatever. But he was just like, no matter what in life, you need to just remember that you ate my asshole. And like at the time I was like, I little embarrassed, but then I thought about it. I was like, yeah, we were in the shower and you wanted me to. It's not like I pinned you down and like forced you into it. You were like practically begging me to do it, and we were clean. Plus, if like it can be quite pleasurable. It's never really been my thing, but I've been with a lot of boyfriends. Not a lot. That number isn't as high as one would imagine, but a lot of partners that really enjoy it. And if it's clean, I say go for it. So that might be the too much information. That is the too much information. I'm gonna go lay by the pool after this. Full disclosure, I lied to you last episode and said I don't know if I lied to you. I gotta listen to these episodes and take notes so I don't repeat myself. But I think I said I waxed my legs in addition to my vagina, but I did not I waxed half of one leg and it just got really tedious and I was just like, this is annoying. But now the hair on my legs have gotten so long, I can feel a breeze go through them. I imagine men know what I'm talking about. Like you feel, and maybe they don't. Maybe they've gotten used to it. I just haven't had hair on my legs for the better part of 2 decades. So like, I haven't been shaving my legs since I was 7. I actually was a late bloomer on that too. My father wouldn't let me shave my legs until I was like 13. Which, don't do that to your daughter. Don't do that to your daughter. I know you might be like, I don't want her to grow up. But like, she has to go to school with her Italian type hair legs. I'm not Italian, but I had the hairiest fucking legs. And they looked way hairy compared to all the other 13-year-olds who got to shave their legs. So it looked extra hairy. Don't do that to your kid. So I've had, bare legs for a long time, so I'm going to wax my legs and then I'm going to go lay by the pool. And like, I'm so nervous because there's just so many of my neighbors that are out there, and there's this whole quarantine thing. As I'm recording these, what sparked this is just that we're on lockdown and quarantine and I'm alone. And so I'm not worried about them not social distancing and staying away from me because it's LA, so everyone's pretty, just conscientious of social stuff and not distancing, but just like in general. And so I'm not worried about that. I just don't want to talk to anybody. You know what I mean? I just want to go down there and I just want to read my book in silence. That's what I want to do. And I know like I'm a social person, but like I hate forced small talk, man. And nothing's worse than forced small talk than your fucking neighbor or with your fucking neighbor. I mean, there's a lot of things that are worse, but like, it's just terrible. Like, oh yeah. And then you're like, I don't know. I have one neighbor that I absolutely love, but I don't know. There's a couple neighbors that I'm just like, we can just smile and nod and then just like go about our lives. And maybe that's terrible. And this is probably the second time I brought this up in this podcast, but I don't know. And then I'm so close in proximity. I hear my neighbor now. My one neighbor to my right that's playing the Call of Duty. Really, I just want to segue into this. I'm trying to figure out a way to segue into like letting you know I'm pretty positive I could get away with murder. Like I was thinking about it, and not in the way that people are like, oh, watch a lot of CIS. Never seen that show. But like I do watch a lot of crime dramas, and I do like a lot of murder documentaries, and murder has always been pretty fascinating to me. Like it's fascinating to me like what snaps in a person. I just choked a little on my spit. That's what that pause was. What fascinates me, what would bring in, like how it gets, how a person gets to that point that they'd murder someone. Like, I'm not talking like the heat of the moment or like self-defense, but like, I don't know. I just feel like it wouldn't be that hard to get away with murder. Like I've heard places where all you have to do is just like stop talking to the person for 5 years, then kill them, because then you're so far out of their life that the cops just don't even you're not even on the radar. But if you're going to murder someone, who has that kind of patience? I feel like if you wait 5 years and you're still angry at the end of the 5 years, like you have a lot more social or like psychological issues. Well, I guess one could argue that me bringing this up, I have some psychological issues, but we haven't all it's not like we all haven't idly thought about it if we could get away with murder. This is what I think. I think that if you just if you know you're gonna murder someone one day, and I may or may not have started doing this, just slowly collect lye. Just buy a little bit of lye at a time. If you're going to make meth with Sudafed, just buy a little bit of Sudafed at a time. It's the long game, it's the long game. Because if you do it on But I've thought about this a lot. Like, I mean, the only thing is, like, with getting away with murder, you have to just be really okay with you're going to have to dismember a body. But all the other stuff is like, yeah, you just keep a secret. You don't tell anybody. And, like, I have secrets about people that would blow your motherfucking mind. I can't believe I said motherfucking mind. It would blow your mind. Like, I have a vault. I talk a lot, man, but I keep a secret. And I got my own deep, dark secrets, which I think I've exposed on here. But I think if I murdered someone, I'd be okay with just keeping it to myself. Ooh, excuse me. That was a hefty burp. I don't know if that's as interesting as I thought it was or as creepy. I feel like, yeah, you dismember the body. That would be the rough part. You get rid of the body. You wipe down all the stuff. I guess it depends on where you murder someone. If it's an accident, then you just call and say it's an accident. I don't know. I feel like it's pretty easy to get away with murder. I've been in my apartment alone for too long and watching way too much Walking Dead. As I said, I've started it over, and I think I'm an expert now. Let's see here. I have I always end this podcast with, if you've listened, I always end this podcast with I'm one lucky broad, which is a segment where I like to talk about what I'm grateful for. And I listened to a band called the Traveling Wilburys. And if you know the band, people have pretty strong opinions about this band. I know people who hate the band and it pisses them off because it's a bunch of like awesome musicians that have all collaborated. And then other people like myself, they're one of my favorite things to listen to out there. Fuck, I love them. The Traveling Wilburys. So basically, like, it's Tom Petty, George Harrison, Roy Orbison, Bob Dylan, and Jeff Lynne. Jeff Lynne is arguably the least popular. Well, no, he's the least popular one of the band. I think he was like the drummer for like an orchestra. I don't remember. Hopefully, if you know, DM me because I'll forget to Google it. And so they were like having a barbecue or some shit one day, and then they all decided they were going to play just jam. And then they wrote this album, and they wrote Traveling Wilburys Volume 1. And then Roy Orbison died, so they didn't make a Volume 2. They made a Volume 3 and dedicated Volume 2 to them. I know all this information because my father was a hippie, and he used to like an old school classic rock hippie, and he used to tell me all these cool stories about these old bands. And so there's a song in there called oh fuck, I listen to the song all the time. I won't sing to you, it's not good. But there's a part in the song that's like I'm just happy to be here, happy to be alive. And that that makes me think, like, that's I know this is like such a grim time and hard, and it's pretty daunting, and what's going on in the government is, it's like a real horror show. Like every day you watch the new thing that's going down, and it's just like, fuck, is this ever going to end? And how is it going to end? And what's life going to be like afterwards? I mean, I think about that stuff, like how's comedy going to happen afterwards? And there's some people who are like, it's just going to go back to normal. And part of me hopes it doesn't. Not with stand-up. I hope stand-up is bigger and better than ever, but like, I hope it doesn't go back to normal, because the normal wasn't really all that great all the time. But I like that line where it's just like, I'm just happy to be here, happy to be alive. And that every time I hear that, I think of my Uncle Jerry. My Uncle Jerry passed away like 2 years ago, I want to say. I don't know. I had like 6 family members die in a row in that time period. That's not funny, but it was just like, my friends at the time were like, who else? And I was just like, my aunt just died. Oh, my grandpa. But my uncle died a couple years ago, and he was one of the ones at the time and one of the few family members I have that died older. Like, he was almost 80. I mean, not crazy old, like 100, but he was almost 80, and he had a big full life, and he was one of my favorite people. This is the vulnerable part of the podcast. I don't know if you're just hoping for me to just talk about poop and eating ass the whole time, but I guess it's not going to happen. He was one of the first people, like growing up, a lot of people thought I wasn't very smart. Maybe it had to do with not being able to read very well out loud. But like, I just, like my family kind of made fun of me for being ditzy or whatever. And really just like working on myself as an adult, I know that was just a massive defense mechanism. But my Uncle Jerry was one of the first people that didn't treat me like I was an idiot. And especially, and like he always, had educated talks with me and talked to me about politics and my opinions, and in a time where like I had to distance myself from a lot of my family for a while, and he, instead of making me out to a villain, he tried to get on the other side of the table with me and try to understand my perspective, and he did. And it was a major loss when he passed away. It was really sad. But what struck me, and what I just touched a bunch of stuff. I don't know if you heard that. I have this bubble wrap in my closet that's wrapped. There's a Justin Timberlake signed autograph picture that my roommates in college gave me for Christmas. And I don't know where to hang it now, but it's one of my favorite things I've ever gotten. So it's just in my closet. And a few of you are listening too. My roomies from college in Greeley still have the Justin Timberlake picture. Love it, love it, love it. But the bubble wrap is touching it. So it was a back to my Uncle Jerry. It was a hard death, but it was, and he had a full life, and it was what I try to live by now. And this circles back to just be happy to be here, happy to be alive. I asked his daughter and his son when he was dying, how he was doing, like how his spirits were. And they said he's sad. And I know that's interesting that's what struck me, but like, he's sad. He's just sad. And like, what a gift that he built this beautiful life. He touched a lot of people's lives. He was a principal in Cherry Hills elementary school in Colorado. And like, I still meet people in LA that like, he was their principal. Like, they see my last name, they're like, Kral? And they're like, are you related to Jerry Kral? And I'm like, yeah, that's my uncle. And they're like, oh my God, he just touched a lot of lives. And like, what a gift to like build such a life with so many beautiful people around you that when it's time for you to go, you're just sad. And like, that's so sad to say. I know. And I don't mean to bum us all out, this roller coaster of a podcast, I guess, today, but like, I've been thinking about that a lot this week, and just like how, like, one, I'm a lucky broad because I got to have Uncle Jerry in my life. And two, I'm a lucky broad because I had someone to give me an example on what kind of life to lead. And I hope that when I'm done with this life, whenever that is, hopefully years and years from now, I get to be sad too because it's over, because I had such a beautiful life. And I'm happy to say, like, I'm one lucky broad because like I would be sad to go because I love, like, it's just, and I know that's a lot of us struggle with depression, especially in the entertainment industry, but I know a lot of people not in the entertainment industry, and myself, who've struggled with mental illness. And I myself have struggled with pretty bad depression. Not very many people know that about me. If you're very, very close to me, you know that I had a rough couple of years, a few years back, where I had to get on meds, and I was close to taking my life. And thank God I didn't. And now, I'm thriving. I'm better than ever. I work on my mental health every day, and I think it's really important that people know that you're not alone if you're struggling with that. And I'm one lucky broad because today I'm happy to be here. I'm just happy to be alive. And I think we're going to end on that. I mean, that's a pretty solace way to end. And hopefully, hey, I didn't check to see if there are any monsters this entire podcast. I've been thinking about it a lot, but I've decided if there's a monster, he would have come in here and killed me. By monster, I mean a guy in a potato sack head or Darth Vader. They would have come. Think about it. If you're just sitting in your living room and Darth Vader walks in, that's the scariest thing I could possibly think of. That, and when you're sitting in a bathtub and a shark just blowing through the tile. I had that fear when I was a little kid. I guess we turned it around from the sad stuff. But I do want to say on the last part, if you are struggling with anything, please reach out to me in my DMs. It's a hard time, and I think we need to stick together. Especially, it's a hard time. A lot of people are getting sick, but mental health is also really important. So DM me, email me. I'll let you know you're not alone. So that is episode 4 of Crawl Space. There, we went through a lot of emotions there, didn't we? I feel very vulnerable and naked right now, which maybe I'll try being naked next time I'm in here. Maybe or will that just make me more sweaty? I can't decide. We'll play around. We've got plenty of time to see what sort of outfits I should record in to minimize the sweat stash. But thank you for listening. Thank you for all the positive feedback. I love it. If you have anything that you would like to send me, with too much information that I can read, or a poop scoop. I love poop stories. Or also send me something on I'm One Lucky Broad. If you want to send me, I would love to get DMs for things that you're grateful for. Or comment on my Instagram, my Facebook. You can find me on all the social medias at KYMKRAL. I have, follow me. I have a weekly radio show that's typically live, but since we're all shut down, we're playing repeats, best of, on Dash Comedy Radio. It's Monday night, 7 to 9 p.m. Pacific time on the comedy station on Dash with comedian Ken Gar. It's a lot of fun. We're playing old episodes right now with a lot of really fantastic interviews with really awesome comedians and actors. So please tune into that. And if you get a second and you like what you hear, I would love it if you subscribed, rated, and reviewed. It would mean the absolute world to me, and it makes a big difference. It makes a big difference. Yeah. So thank you so much for listening to me in my closet. I hope you're having a good week and staying home and staying safe. And this is Kim Kral. Bye.